maybe I'm not alone with this. And it's like, maybe I'm one of these people. Let me tune into certain things, get a bit of help, get a bit of therapy, write a few things down, lodge the alcohol. Maybe I'll be all right. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic, but maybe I just need to, just have a word with myself, take a bit of responsibility. But yeah, like I said, as the days wore on, I remember sitting there thinking, what am I doing? It was becoming more and more evident of how powerless and hopeless I was. You put anything in front of me, or that thought is in my mind, I was off, and I had no defence, as they talk about. And so now I was starting to hear these things. I was like, Mike, you can't hide under that carpet no more.
I'm Paul Scolfort, and this is Powerful. In this series, I come clean about my own sobriety and the journey it took for me to get here. In each episode, I will speak to a special guest about their addictions and how they achieve sobriety and how they maintain a happy lifestyle today. So today, I'm really excited to talk to Mark White. He has a great sobriety and he's very keen in helping the community and to launch different initiatives. Mark has over 22 years experience in the wellness space and has also featured in many publications such as Hello Magazine, GQ, Runner's World, Metro, and the famous Hertfordshire Mercury. A proud father of 2 daughters, a keen runner, an enthusiastic community builder, Mark has a huge passion to impact the world in positive ways. I've known Mark for a long time. He's one of the most driven people I know. In these episodes, we will be talking about drug and alcohol misuse, suicide, sexual abuse, and some other heavy topics. So please take care when listening. Mark, thank you so much, mate, for coming on. This is Powerful. Really nice to see you.
Thanks for the invite.
Looking very glowy and healthy as usual.
Well, a bit flustered. But I'm aging well, mate. No drugs and alcohol probably help with that process. But yeah, nice to see you.
Do you want to take us back to where you're from and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, no worries. Need to remind myself sometimes that I don't often go back there now. Some of the environments that I share in, I tend just to focus on today, and stuff like that. So to kind of go back, it's very important stuff. And I suppose the ABCs are 41 years old, just turned, born in North London, Spurs fan.
Was you born in North London?
Born in North London, yeah. Tottenham fan. Chase Farm.
I didn't know that.
My dad's side at East End. My mum was North. My dad was Spitalfields Market. My mum used to work in a bank in Spitalfields. They met. And then they went down the A10 to a little town called Broxbourne, Wormley, Hoddesdon.
So they basically met directly in the middle for North London and East London, if you're there.
Yes, they did, yeah, back in whenever it was. A lot's happened since then.
Must have flipped a coin.
But yeah, they did, yeah. But at that time, things were getting built outside of London. Yeah. And so no, they ventured up to the A10 where I spent my life, really. So a little town called Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire, Broxbourne, around that area. And born in the 80s, grew up 90s, really. And got a brother, got a sister, and...
How was school, though, mate? Because I guess you got London parents, but you're living in Hertfordshire.
Mm-hmm.
But you was born in Hertfordshire, right?
Well, born in North London, but grew up in Hertfordshire very, very quickly, yeah.
How was school?
In the sticks. School was, earlier days, just trying to cast my mind back, like primary school days. I can remember being, pretty outgoing, bit of a daredevil, trying to be the comedian. Didn't really care too much, not irresponsibly, just a kid, it's just out and about, full of energy, bundle of joy, love being, kind of centre of attention type of stuff. No self-awareness going on there, just how I was, so just very naturally, just kind of was that kind of young person, really. And then getting to secondary school, things changed quite dramatically.
What changed from there?
Well, just... I don't know, just more sensitive to the environment. I started to take on all, the differences and started to go a bit more within, the vulnerability, the kind of insecurities, inadequacies, judging myself and other people's outsides, wasn't so confident.
Do you think it was because you kind of become self-aware and then conscious that, you mean you was conscious that you was different from people? You just become like insecure? I was no different.
All of a sudden the narrative in between my ears changed. I just wasn't so free flowing no more. And part of that is just becoming teenagers, and you think differently, you feel differently. There's girls around the place now, and you want to be cool and you want to be part of, and and you're just trying to shape yourself, I suppose, at that time, not even really knowing it. Okay, where do I fit in and around these? Am I as good looking as my pal? Am I as funny as my pal? And does she like? And all of a sudden, you just start to question yourself quite a lot. And you go in various directions with that stuff. It's not always so dramatic. But for me, literally overnight, it felt like I just like bang, something happened. Nothing so traumatic that I can kind of finger point to an experience, which just kind of changed my life forever. Accumulatively, there was things in and around me that were starting to shape my sensitivity to life, and all of a sudden these feelings, I couldn't identify the feelings, and like I said, the insecurities. I couldn't label them as that at the time. I was just felt very alone. It got quite dark, and. So like my teenage years, and then alcohol and other substances started to come to the fore.
But do you think that's, as a guy, because I always look back, and there's a thing about, I don't believe looking back's bad. Mm-hmm. And when I ask people about looking back, I don't mean like in a morbid way, just to give everyone an idea that what shaped you as an individual. Because I know when I was younger, I was probably very similar. I wanted to move. Give me a bicycle, a skateboard, roller skates, running, trampoline, whatever it is. I just want to move. And there was something later. Definitely, it was a big move to go into secondary school for me. I didn't think everyone else it was a big move, but I become quite self-conscious. I always said it was shy, but actually it was quite self-conscious. And I realised then as well, when I went to this school, I remember there was a dance competition. And I put myself in for it, not even thinking anything about it. I was like, I love dancing, let's do it. And I remember I won this competition, and in the playground I got laughed at by some guys, and a couple of older fellas come up and said, I'd never have the guts to do that. I thought, why would you have to have guts to do that? And it kind of triggered in a negative way for me.
Yeah.
Oh, there's like a big thing about doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think that then went into self-awareness and self-conscious, because before that I didn't care, not in an arrogant way, I just didn't come into my sphere.
Yeah.
And when I realised that people, I think it's more judgy as you get older, and it's probably mostly more impactful. And I think as guys, personally speaking, it's difficult because there's not a book, an A to Z, an encyclopedia on how to handle those situations, is there? And you kind of have to do it on your own, really, and you can't really talk to your mates about it. Maybe things are changing now, but so how was that? So what impact did that have on you? Because you're a fit, good-looking guy, and people sometimes assume that because you are a fit, good-looking guy, that you won't have the emotions, you won't have the problems.
Yeah, I understand that, and as you kind of suggested, now with hindsight and on reflection, and a lot of the work that's gone over the last few years, you can kind of get a bit of clarity as to, that little boy and kind of what he needed at that time, or kind of maybe if this had happened, and all that kind of hearsay stuff. The reality was the reality. There was, things in and around me which were, shaping me and my outlook and my perception, and which wasn't always true either. My perception of situations and scenarios, I was just kind of trying to put the pieces together in my own mind and coming up with the wrong scenario. So, I wasn't helping myself, but because I couldn't communicate, and because I kind of, wasn't sharing about certain things that were happening, I was just coming up with my own conclusions, and then you just go down a rabbit hole with it, and it just feeds the fear, feeds the darkness, feeds the insecurity. And them years were really tricky, really tricky. I did feel really alone, and, at judgment, as you shared, I was a late developer, and, my mates around me was developing and, doing bits and pieces, with females and another bit. And all of a sudden I just wanted to be part of that.
Where's my turn?
And I wanted to be part of that, but I didn't feel secure enough to kind of do that stuff. And all that kind of, it feeds into, yeah, the self-doubt and the confidence kind of goes, you know, and I suppose that's when alcohol and that entered in. I found a bit more confidence. I could show up and do things that maybe I didn't do sober.
How did alcohol show up for you? Because it doesn't just land on your door.
No, just in and around, you know, that age, 12, 13, first year of secondary school in particular. You know, you're just with your mates and you get your Diamond White over the park on a Saturday morning, and Benson and Hedges, and, you know, Puff was, you know, introducing itself to me, and I was just very curious. And I kind of, me and my pals were that way inclined. We were that group at school, which, you know, you just wherever you want to position it, the bike shed boys, and which was fun. You know, we meant no harm really. There was a few scallywags, but ultimately we had good arts. We were just boisterous and just wanted to have a laugh more often than not. You know, when it comes to the academic side of things, maybe we weren't tuned into that frequency.
Back then?
Yeah, I played a lot of rugby actually. Yeah, and that was a nice anchor for me because although I was wrapped up in other areas, you know, because they excited me just as much. I've got something from rugby. I enjoyed that, but like I said, that kind of being late developer and I was quite capable actually. But as time progressed, the confidence was just zapping out of me, and you know, and I can remember actually like this was maybe a moment in time. I got picked for like county or whatever it was, and I remember turning up and just being full of fear, and they were all practicing warming up, and I never went. I was just like, do you know what? I can't do this today, and I ain't played since. So yeah, there was like,
it's
even on
thing,
talking now, I've forgotten all about that. It's all locked up in the back of the mind, and so I not played since. So that was quite sad because it just maybe now talking to you, and this back in the day when I was looking into all this stuff. Of course, that was a moment that I kind of talked about, tried to get a bit of a bit of awareness around, but. Yeah, maybe for the first time that day, fear grabbed, had its way and stopped me from doing something. And then if you give it an inch, and then it just spiraled out of control from then, So, but yeah, I was sporty, but nothing outrageous. But yeah.
Did you go introvert or extrovert with that stuff?
No, introvert. Absolutely, yeah.
And when you was with the bike shed boys drinking the stuff, did that thing allow you to come out of yourself?
Yeah, I believe so. We were just on a certain level, like I said, quite boisterous. We like having a laugh. We were going out and starting to, hit the bars. We're like 15, 16, 17 now, and getting into mischief. No, I used to go around the back of the window, around the back. Mavericks in Hoddesdon Town. It was good times, and used to buy a few bud in Tesco's, 6 for a $5 or whatever it was. Put them down your trousers and all that kind of fun stuff. And but yeah, like I said, I didn't look my age, so I was always kind of boring without him knowing my brother's driving license and all the fake ID stuff. So good times really.
So he knows now.
He knows now. We got taken off me once in a cubicle, so he found out. Yeah, I got caught the hard way in Epping Country Club actually. The country club.
Good days back then, my friend. Good days.
So yeah, some fun stories, but for me it got very dark, in and around that time with how I was then leaning into the mind altering substances side of things.
Did that affect your schooling?
Yeah, I wasn't that engaged with it. Like I said, not in a disrespectful way, really. I mean, it was at the time. It didn't go down very well in and out of school. I got told to leave school in the end, but suspended a few times. Some for silly shit, but some, maybe more.
Did you have
serious stuff? But yeah, them days it did interfere. I was puffing all the time then. I was smoking all the time then. I was, we were drinking often, but in a playful way. But it was part of my life now and part of my habits, I suppose. We'd kind of go out on a Friday and a Saturday and. Yeah, as we know, it just interferes with the mind,
It's interesting because when I remember choosing, we had like a career day when I was about 13 to know what you wanted to do when you left school. And I honestly was literally thinking, how do I know at 13 what I want to do? That was just me. I wanted to be a stunt driver. That's the only thing I ever wanted to do was like stunts. And some of the kids knew they wanted to go into a bank or they wanted to be a lawyer. But for me personally, I just had no idea at that point because I thought, I'm still 13, why am I thinking about that?
Yeah.
Not the best way of doing things, but that was for me. Did you know what you wanted to do when you left school?
No, not a dicky bird. No, I really didn't. I can't remember with any kind of real clarity. I can remember I was just feeling lost, you know, and like it didn't really scare me, these big decisions and like what's my purpose, like I said, like kind of where do you see yourself in 5 years when you leave school. It wasn't really on my radar. I was very much day to day, just like mucking about. Just all I cared about then was just that no responsibility, just going here, there and everywhere. And like I said, the drink thing kind of got me quite early in regards to, you know, you just want to just be irresponsible and just like the consequences and stuff. So things like careers, you know, I think when I got asked to leave school, didn't leave school with all the GCSE stuff. I was just falling into like the recruitment, a day here, a day there, bit of air conditioning, a bit of an apprenticeship. Got told to lead the apprenticeship because I got caught smoking skunk and on site, and you know I never went to the day college release thing. So it's very unmanageable, and like I was just careless really. But you know there was a license to do that at that time, you know, because you know there's a time in life where maybe you can afford in inverted commas to do that. But yeah, in regards to my own expectation of where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, I was just caught up in my own trap of my own mind and very uninspired, not very driven, which was a shame because there was a good part to me, which, you know, was hoping that there was more to life than this. You know, there was, I had decent enough people around me, I suppose. You know, I mean, my dad wasn't he was an absent father, but I had my pops, you know, he was like a male figure in my life that was a good guy, hard-working guy. So it wasn't if I was like left to my own devices. So, you know, my mum was an amazing mum and people, but yeah, just, I was just my own little dark, uninspiring world. Just, so all that kind of stuff was, wasn't at the forefront of my mind, you know, I just wanted to do drugs.
And do you think that doing that, because there's always a correlation in conversations where someone starts to really feel stuff early on in life, and then when you put a substance in there, you're like, this is just, well, it makes everything better. Yeah, it just takes the pain away and takes the confusion away. In fact, I don't care. So it's a really dangerous, but you know, a direct replacement for that.
Oh yeah,
and when you're younger, I think you don't realise the consequences that can happen later because, like you said, you're thinking in the moment, oh well, that I feel better with this, and I feel like I've got my community. So. Yeah. Why would I struggle?
Yeah.
What about as you got older? What did you do for work then? Because as I'm sitting here looking at you, you're successful, you know, you put together and stuff. So how was the...
Thanks, mate. Put together.
It's true.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And because it's a long journey from the kid who's puffing and drinking, who's not turning up, doesn't really care, to who you are now. So how far down that rabbit hole did you go before you decided that you needed to be sober?
Yeah, just go back to what you just brought up there. Really important part. Like at the time, it was the solution. And I said all this terminology and language now is just that wasn't part of my life back then. But it was definitely a solution. Like when I come across these bits and pieces, you know, like drinking, fags even, and puffing, and later on harder drugs like the pills and the coke, etc. Yeah, they were serving a purpose, and then you don't know when you cross that line. You know, I never intended for it to go the way it did. I never intended for the consequences to be what they were. I never intended to kind of, be suicidal and kind of go to that dark place where I just felt like, you know, what's all this about? Like, who put me here? Kind of, where am I going? Who am I? Why am I hurting these people? Why am I feeling this way? Never knew. You know, it was just open up this big can of worms. You know, that kind of alcoholic was in me, that addictive personality, compulsive behaviour, all that was kind of in me, and that fear was just overriding everything. So I suppose and that sensitivity that I had, you know, when, you know, for them formative years, I suppose, you know, you put all that into your system and your mind. For me, it was only going to go one way. You know, it was fairly evident very soon that I was never going to be just going out and having a few buds or a few Stellas every now and again with my pals. And, you know, you might have a blowout consistently for a period of time, but this was very consistent. Then it got daily. And then it was just, you know, I was 18 at the time as well when I got caught doing something which was, you know, not very good at all. Very ashamed of it at the time. Very, very ashamed of it now. It's settled in me now, and I've made amends, etc. So that ship sailed. And as you've brought up, I'm not that guy no more. So there's a clear separation between what was and what is.
Was there consequences from that event?
Yeah, it was accumulative, it was, lots was going on. I could never now use without being consequenced, with what I was doing to get it, with where I was going to get it, with what I was doing when I was on it, and everything else in between, the whole story of addiction,
And was this mostly coke and alcohol at that time?
Yeah, daily. And like you said, that kind of devastation that it causes with people, and you're in the middle of it all and you can't see it. When I went to rehab, he's on the wall. Denial isn't a river in Egypt, and as we all know.
I always use that analogy.
Yeah, mate. It's, at the time I was like, what are they on about? I didn't want to be there. I didn't think I needed to be there.
When was this, Mark?
This was 2002, 18. I had my 19th birthday in there in Wales. There was 6-7 months prior to that occasion that I got presented with a choice, really.
Who by?
My parents, they were just, like I said, there was consequences to some of my actions, and it's like you go in this direction or you go in this direction. This direction is there's a day therapy centre up the road. You've got a problem. You need to go and sort yourself out because this not for the first time, but this can't continue. Look, where you are, what you're doing, and the ripple effect. And
how did you take that on board? Because that's quite a strong.
I wanted a way out. Not out of addiction. Like I said, I didn't think I was an addict.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had a problem. I just needed a way out of this little tizwas I was in, shall we say. And this was like, okay, I'll go do that. I'll go to this place. I'll do what I need to do. So
really just to make it go away.
100%. Oh, mate, do I think I need to be there? 18 years old? No. I mean, at any age, like I said, denial, whether you're 18, 28, 58, 68, if you don't, you're in the middle of it, or you're the last one to find out, as they say.
Who took you up there to Wales?
So my mum took me to this place, this day centre place called Vale House.
Yeah.
So that was January 2002. And then June, I went to Wales to rehabilitation centre called Reserkin. So that's 6-7 months. All of a sudden, this place I didn't want to go to or feel like I needed to be at. As with a lot of things in life, consistency, was played a big part because I was going there every day and listening to people that were there that were in a similar predicament to me.
This is a Val place.
This is a Val house, yeah. So it's just like a couple of sessions, morning, afternoon, certain environment, certain language, people talking about addictions and consequences and powerlessness. It wasn't an AA meeting or a CA meeting or an NA meeting. And all of a sudden, after like a few days, a few weeks, some of what we've been talking about this morning, other people were talking about, like, I feel like this, I've done this, I'm sensitive to this, I don't feel like all the stuff that is always in my own mind. I was like, oh Jesus, like, what's this place I've landed at? Who are these people talking in ways I want to talk and
in
feeling
a good way.
Very positive, yeah. And slowly, there wasn't like a wham bam moment, but over these kind of weeks and months, I was still using. I had a couple of weeks here and a couple of weeks here, but I was still like, no, I'll be all right, mate. It just, Did
you have to own that in there, Mark? Or
yeah, sometimes I was a bit sneaky and said that I was sober and I wasn't, and a bit just playing the game. As we do, we're kind of the corrupt mind. We're kind of conniving people at times, and we're in active addiction. So dishonesty is pretty much your go-to. I wasn't an honest guy back then. And, but yeah, I was just going here every day, being forced to. And then actually there was a willingness for me to go there because I could kind of get a sense to think, actually, I feel like that. I've done that. Maybe I'm not alone with this. And it's like, maybe I'm one of these people. Maybe I'm, yes, I could just be going through a bit of a troublesome time. Let me tune into certain things, get a bit of help, get a bit of therapy, write a few things down, lodge the alcohol. Maybe I'll be all right. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic, but maybe I just need to, just have a word with myself, take a bit of responsibility. But yeah, like I said, as the days wore on, and I was still kind of in and out of things, I can remember just getting on it and same behaviours, same everything. And it was like, I don't know how long it was. It don't matter about the days and how much you took and what you took. Like all them days are gone. Like, fuck it, it don't matter. I was where I was and I'd done what I'd done. And I remember sitting there thinking, what am I doing? Where am I going? I've now kind of got a different level of communication with people. So I'm not completely in the dark. I know that there's another way. I know that if I wanted to, I could seek another direction if I wanted to, but then it's becoming more and more evident of how powerless and hopeless I was. You put anything in front of me or that thought is in my mind, I was off and I had no defense, as they talk about. And so now I was starting to hear these things. I was like, Mike, you can't hide under that carpet no more. It's not, the denial was being chipped away at. So I remember after a few days, after a few months, after having a few days of doing what I was doing, just looking out the window, I remember it like it was yesterday. It's like early hours, just getting light. I was like, fuck this. I can't do this no more. And what's the alternative? And I had the opportunity to go to rehab a few days afterwards. And I said, you know what, Mark? Do yourself a favour. Go to this place. Just jump right in. Whatever they ask you to do. Whatever they ask you to say. Do the work. It's 3 months out of your life. If you then leave that place after 3 months, giving it all you've got, and you ain't one of these people, you just needed a moment in time to reevaluate things. So I was still young. I was like 19 now. Well, 18, but going on 19 within a few weeks. I've not drunk since, so it's 22 and a half years ago. And I jumped right in and done the work. Started on the step process, and started to build up the confidence, the self-awareness, destruct the denial and the compulsion and the obsession, and started to focus on different energies within me. And
it's really good to hear, because there's this moment for many people. There's 1 in 5 people that are affected by addiction in this country, and to have that moment of clarity, to have a word with yourself, is pretty powerful.
Yeah,
and it's great that you did attend, even though you didn't want to go there, to this Val House, because obviously being in an environment, you start to hear things.
Yeah, you can't deny it no more.
Yeah.
Like I said, and that's part of the mind sometimes, the prison of our mind, not wanting us to share or to listen or to kind of be in certain environments because of the honesty and the truth. We can't escape it. You can't justify things no more. It's black and white. You get taught over time to write things down and share openly with, when it's appropriate, with others, whether it be one-on-one or a certain environment, because then, you're just suffocating the darkness, as I call it sometimes. You're suffocating it, because I was like, okay, what do I do with this information? But then all of a sudden the evidence starts to tip, and then this is a way of life. This is the way you want to be. This is how it is. It's all right to be human. It's all right to feel. It's all right not to run away from anger. It's all right to be angry, sad, cry, laugh. It's all right to have all these things, and where I got very tricky for me with a lot of people, and not separating myself now from just being human. It's not an addict's thing, it's not an alcoholic thing, and even then I don't separate it. It's all one thing. It's all mind altering. Drug is a drink, drink is a drug, and blah blah blah. Is not to deny how I feel, and because then it gets really tricky, that comparison, that divide. No one likes to feel some of that way, no one likes to, everyone wants to feel happy all the time, whatever that means, but it's right, once you can start to manage the mind and the feelings and allow them and let them flow and kind of, do what you can, as they kind of come, and deal with it appropriately, and be open when you can and communicate where you can, and take honesty and take the hard truths, because as you might know over the years, for people to be honest with you about, the consequences back then of your behaviour and how you affected people, to hear that and to sit with that and to take it on and take ownership of that and responsibility, it's tricky. You're like,
it's tough.
Come on now. But it's tough. It's really, really tough, because but it's the reality, but then it's up to you to change it, and to continue on a path where, you're giving more than you take, shall we say.
The most important thing there is that you can change, and what you said about prison of the mind, when you was younger, you was like, there must be more than this. And is that what you found in rehab? Because I don't think, being in rehab, I'm not sure what people understand about it, because before I went, all I've ever seen is Fight Club, where in a process group and they're talking about their feelings, and I thought that is not
thank you. For
me.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But actually, going into rehab, I thought was just a brilliant thing. Once I was in there, I did the thing where you have to talk for an hour and they assess you, and I'm thinking, I've got a hangover. Like, I have just had a massive glass of wine as well, so I feel a bit better. And she asked me, she said, so how is life? How are you feeling? I'd literally burnt my life to the ground. And I said, yeah, not too bad. I probably need a bit of a break.
It's scary,
but I'm okay.
Yeah.
And she said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And she said, have you noticed anything about the windows around here? And I said, yeah, they're Georgian. She went, no, they're screwed down. You can't get out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a bit serious, isn't it?
Yeah, blimey, yeah.
And I thought, oh, and she tried to make me understand that actually I'm in a bad place.
Yes.
You know, and they said to me that you probably only had a few months to live because I was pretty shot to bits. And I'm really grateful for that experience because it took me from my environment out of my usual mindset of, oh, this is fine and, you know, it's not, and just drinking and drugging and doing what I was doing. And just to have that moment in time to look at yourself, right? And again, someone saying to me, you need to look at yourself before, I'll be like, no, I don't. But when you get that moment and you start looking, something cracks open, you're like, actually, maybe there is another way, like what you said eloquently earlier. And I think that gave me, it just filled me with hope, possibility, the understanding that I've been so arrogant in my mindset that I thought was big, but it's actually small, and it was a locked in mindset that I got kind of excited because I'm thinking, wow, actually, everything's possible, really.
Yeah. And we all need that hope. And at a time when I felt completely and utterly hopeless, like I said, that moment. And who knew, you know, on reflection, that just so happened to be the day, you know, I can say with, you know, certainty and clarity that, I kind of give myself that opportunity to see what else there was, you know, and before, you know, we all know, and still today, like nothing changes in some ways. One day rolls into another day, and before you know it, a week's gone, a month's gone. And when, you know, I was in active addiction, it's a very similar scenario. It's like, I'll do it tomorrow or next week. And all of a sudden, 6 months gone, nothing's changed because I wasn't changing. Like I said, my decision making was the same, just caught up in that, just that obsessive, compulsive, dishonest world, you know. And I suppose now, you know, reshaping my thinking, getting some guidance around how you can navigate through life and support your next steps, and then the evidence builds as you just kind of brought up in some way of like, actually, the hope's coming back. I feel a bit inspired now, and you know, I had to make some big decisions. You know, I had to separate myself from my circle of pals. You know, which at that age, you know, I don't want to kind of, it's my reality, so I'll talk about my age because it's part of my story, but. You know, any age, just to make sacrifice, you know, what really big at that time. You know, it was tough, and it was a lonely time. But contradictory to that is the most hopeful time of my life because, I was just getting a sense of purpose, I suppose, and you know, my mind was clearing, and I knew, you know, from that day forth, really for me to have any chance in life, the alcohol had to go. You know, the drugs had to go. It's just for me to have any chance, and what that looked like. The excitement started to grow. What can this look like? What am I capable of? What is my full potential? You know, what can my life be like? And then I had 3 months in Wales, which I committed to, and it just so happened that I completed it. You know, and it's a funny environment back then. No phones, you know, I was a Nokia 8210 back then, and so I couldn't play Snake for 3 months, which was all right. And we had a paid phone we could only use for 1 hour, 4 evenings a week. We had no TV. They allowed us to watch England-Argentina 2002 World Cup, and that was it. Locked away. We were allowed into the local town after 9 weeks for a couple of hours with the people that had been there for a little bit longer. So it's all very structured and very. Not prison, but it's very much like, listen, as you mentioned, you know, doors are down, doors are locked. Yeah. You know, pretty much. You're here for a reason because you're fucked. You've got, you know, you kind of, you're not doing anything in society. You're devastating people around you. You're an addict. You're an alcoholic. You need to sort yourself out, and we're here to help you out if you want it. And I was like, okay, put it like that. You know, let's see where this journey takes us. And then I went to Weymouth for 3 months. I was 6 months out. And then, some of the decisions, then I got let out.
What was Weymouth?
Weymouth was like a secondary care environment. So a bit more flexibility, a bit more freedom, but still structure, group, staying in a place. But to go back, what's coming to mind now, I'm just kind of, I can picture a few of the guys that it was mixed. There was females there as well. But you know, now in hindsight, how lucky I was to be that age and to now be in this environment around this wisdom. You know, I mean, we're all active addicts ultimately. You know, there was a lot of people there from different backgrounds and different stories to tell, and some really funky people I come across at that time. But fundamentally now, just to kind of be around it, this energy was going to serve me really, really well. because I was still a boy really, but like a young man now, just starting to get a sense of direction and now to kind of create a new framework around me and new people around me that were all on the same page. We could all be honest and open with each other. We all knew certain things about each other. So coming from that place and that page was inspiring, because this feels like
it's a real fellowship and a real community.
Oh
isn't
mate,
it?
unbelievable! And then I jumped back into the fellowships. I had a bit of experience with them prior to going to rehab, and then I just jumped in the middle of the bed, as they described it, and settled down early, had my girls, and got married and stuff, and then we are where we are.
That's beautiful, mate. And it's really good to give people hope, because before anyone decides that maybe if I have a problem, I may not have a problem, but if I look at myself, even if they don't suffer from alcoholism or addiction, I know a lot of people that have stopped, looked at themselves, and actually gone, do you know what, I'm better off without alcohol.
Yeah.
Even for quite some time, just to work on myself, and life becomes a better place. And I always thought it'd be a glum place, but it does become better. So you've done loads of stuff, I know, in the community, great initiatives, Grateful Mile. And what are you doing now? Because there's something on top of that.
Soon to launch something called Daily 5.
Daily 5. So can you tell people what the Grateful Mile is, where you've took it? We know you've been in lots of publications, you've been around the world with it. What is the purpose of that, Mark? And how did that come around? Yeah,
no, I love it. And it's very important to me. I'm very passionate about it. Over all the years, in sobriety, ultimately that's where I exist. That's my people, and I wasn't a problem drinker. The awareness around this topic in particular over the last few years, I don't know how long it's been now, 5, 6 years. It's been an amount of time now, sober living, different choices, lifestyle, all the science and awareness now around, all the things that are now more accessible. So it's fantastic, that people are seeking different ways, and but there's still a lot of destruction that kind of goes on in and around, the alcohol, and it's still a big problem out there with all that kind of stuff. So everything I've learned over the years, and to be of service and to kind of give back and to take because it was very anonymous what I was doing for a lot of years, and which was fine, and I didn't want it any other way. I didn't seek it any other way, and a lot of people helped me, and I helped a lot of people. And the more sobriety you get, the more people maybe look for you for guidance and support. And I'm really proud of the work that I do that no one knows about, because it isn't always about sharing it with the world. And in 2019, I got voted top social entrepreneur in the UK. And which was amazing. I had a community interest company for a few years, done some amazing initiatives around the UK, getting people active, showing up where they live, contributing, everything that I learned in and around, recovery really. So just taking that out into the world and where I lived. And my girls were getting older, and I could see inactivity in kids and obesity. So I was tuned into another lens, being a father, etc. So to get to your questions, to give it a bit of context. So I was kind of out there, and then I got voted, which was really lovely. And I was encouraged there, because I kept my sobriety to myself. I'm not on Instagram. I am, but it's very much family and friends, and people knew I wasn't ashamed to be in recovery and being an addict. The energy around that has shifted over the years. It used to be a bit frowned upon, or a bit like, oh, he's an addict, he's useless, and heroin, smack, and just not very good people. But that was starting to change, so that was lovely. And so some of that was going on, and then fast forward to 2019, I was encouraged to share more, because actually people need to hear it, and people felt inspired by it. And I was like, okay, so that gave me a bit of maybe an opening to see, okay, I'll be willing to go there. And fast forward to today, the last few years, a lot of the work now that I do on a global scale around the Grateful Mile is all about attaching movement to gratitude. Gratitude for me has been a huge anchor since day one. All the language that was mentioned around meditations and mindfulness and spirituality and this and that, mate, is at that time I was still very judgmental towards all that jazz. I was like, no, thank you. It was very off-putting. It wasn't very inviting. But gratitude, I could get my head around. I was like, okay, what am I grateful for? That's a good start. I could jot down a few things. And then from that place, I went on a certain journey with it, that all the other stuff then become a bit more inviting. I was like, okay, so gratitude, absolutely, fundamentally, always a gateway into so much more. And in the movement, I started to run 10, 11, give up mobile lights. My relationship was running, has always been around that more mindful approach, wasn't too fussed about PBs and distances. So I was on my way, and then COVID happened, and I went out and I done a challenge. I attached movement to gratitude and the miles. People loved it. At the end of that experience, I was like, how can other people get involved in this? My creativity and my entrepreneurial spirit was in full flow. I called it Run Grateful. And before I knew it, 80 odd countries around the world were tagging us into their grateful miles, and it was just amazing. And then, more recently, I've renamed it the Grateful Mile, because you don't need to run necessarily. It's not a run club. It's just like a global initiative. People can go out, walk, run, move, attach it to gratitude, share their gratitude, use that time to appreciate, to kind of acknowledge others, to appreciate others. It's just a nice moment. So, we do loads under that umbrella. And
just to jump in quickly, for people that don't know the word gratitude, we know what it means. Mm-hmm. But how do you do a gratitude walk or run? Like, what is the thought process before, during, and after?
Well, I always try to, as we've experienced over years, we've known each other a little while now, the invitation's there, and how people gravitate towards it in their own way. And I'm fascinated more now than ever, actually, about the sliding doors moments, about what brings us together at a certain time, at a certain place. Like I said, we've all got our stories, we've all got our own little lives, and before you know it, it's just like, okay, so there's a frequency there that's really intriguing me, and the gratitude thing around that excites me, because from that place, a lot of magic can happen. So whether you've got a gratitude practice or not, whether you move, you're active, whether you walk or run or whatever or not, to combine the two is fantastic. And it can be an entry point into a lot of things, so as a light touch, as I mentioned, the gratitude piece for me is, more generically, okay, what am I grateful for? What's in my life? And then it could open up a can of worms for a lot of people, because I've had it. We don't just assume everyone is grateful all the time because of circumstances and glass half empty, or they might not be lucky enough like us to have certain things in and around them to guide them and support them, kind of structures and framework. So, some people are, what have I got to be grateful for? It's all right for you. It's all right for you. If I had that, I'd be okay, that conversation. Yeah. So for me, I always just try and draw it back to kind of the fundamentals. If you've got two arms, you've got two legs, that's the place to start. If we can see, if we can hear, if we can feel, if we've got somebody around us, start from that place. And then we can work from there. So the opportunity within the Grateful Mile is use that time to focus on that one thing. And sometimes it could be half a thing, just anything to kind of latch onto, anchor into, lean into. And just use that as a vehicle for that moment to appreciate, to kind of reset, to kind of, go out, move the body, maybe speak to others, appreciate others and acknowledge others. To receive gratitude is a real potent way of feeling it. So to kind of share, I'm grateful for you, and they then get it, message to them. That's a nice way of them experiencing it. And all that can be done within the mile. When, a lot of people, when they move, they feel like they need to do 10,000 steps, or I need to run 5Ks or half marathons or ultra marathons. A mile is a long way for a lot of people, and to kind of integrate into that day, build a positive habit from there, and to feel part of something. And all of a sudden you've got your gratitude practice and your movement practice in one. And where that takes you, we can guide you on that journey as well.
It's interesting because when I speak to people about meditation, interestingly, a lot of people say, I can't meditate because it's too noisy. But that's the whole point, is to watch what you do. So for me, when I'm coaching people, we do walks and talks and we move. And there is something in that as you're moving, and then changing the narrative and the resistance against negativity to bring something in that's grateful, that kind of, it's like a jemmy bar that opens a door, right? And then once you start it opening, and you really feel it, because you can think grateful things, or you could write something without the feeling. But for me, it's trying to write something, really think about it, have a feeling with it. Like, I'm grateful my mum still be alive, for example. And I'd have laughed at this years ago, it weren't my thing either, but I can sit there and really think of nice times with my mum and get a warm, glowing feeling.
Mate, if you sit with that feeling, it's like nothing else. It's like nothing. If you, like I said, there's a generic piece here, or like the busy nature of life. It's like, I'm grateful for a roof over my head or food on the table with my mum. It's lovely, and you're not kind of washing it away because there's somehow that's being of use, and that's a nice thoughts and nice feelings. But yeah, if you actually consciously, intentionally sit with that feeling and let it wash over you, nothing else like it. Like, it is powerful. It is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced. I've done lots over the years, like different meditations, different breath works, where you feel an energy. But yeah, gratitude is probably, I don't categorize these things, but it's definitely top
Well,
top
when
of
you're
the list.
sitting in that grateful feeling, you're not negative, you're not full of fear, nothing else is going on. And I'm sure, I'm not a scientist, but chemically, something's changing in your body.
Yeah. And also, it's just your perception, the heightened state of the world all the time, and noise, do this, do that, or go there. Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? That comparison, that divide, very complex, for everyone to be on the same page at any one time is very difficult. It's just like, okay, yeah, where can we kind of just, not about going from within. For me, it's about going wide, not deep. With the power of the open mind, we can really tune in. And, you mentioned the word purpose before, the heavy nature of like, what's my purpose, and the pressure we put ourselves. But, unlock your spirit before purpose, get an understanding of yourself and about what you like and what you don't like, and kind of go in that direction. And your purpose becomes obvious, as things progress, and through the Grateful Mile, it's become more obvious. I've taken a leap of faith in some areas and started to carve out certain things, but you just kind of trust it,
Perfect. Just quickly, we've run out of time. If someone's sitting at home or in their office or wherever they may be, and they are in despair, or they're at that point where they're thinking they may have a problem, or they do have a problem, what would you suggest that they do?
Oh, wow. There's so much to this. How can I simplify it? Just maybe give yourself the chance to listen and to be just, we've spoken about that moment. It's accumulative, that go back to that day we've spoken about a few times. I never knew that was my moment, but within us all, whether it being within a Grateful Mile or not, just to carve out enough time just to, think a bit differently, or to kind of be open to another way. It hasn't always got to be rock bottom and stuff, but if you are hopeless and desperate and things are happening around you and you just can't see a way out and it get very dark, it's very difficult to see beyond that, because it's all consuming. But there is, people call it about switching the light on, but having hope. But there is, just give yourself that opportunity, and even if you feel like it's not going to be of any use, or you're in your own mind, you're dismissing it. Oh, that don't matter, I don't want to do that. And this is a large thing around daily 5. Take 5 minutes out, do something new, try something different. And even if at the end of that 5 minutes nothing's changed. You're not expecting instant gratification all the time, but you never know. Beyond that judgment, beyond trying that new thing, Tai Chi, Qigong, sound baths, breath work, yoga, Pilates, HIIT, whatever it might be, there's many opportunities. You never quite know. The other side of that, there might be a glimmer of hope. And then from that place, hopefully, things can happen and you can start to carve out, because, we all need hope. We all need something somewhere, somehow. And, to get lost in life sometimes is it's sad for me, because I've seen that and I've felt it and I've been there and I've done it, and it's exhausting, but yeah, fingers crossed we can all find our way and carve out a life for ourselves where, we can give more than we take.
Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you. Lovely. I could have spoken to you for ages.
No, I know, that's the thing. This podcast is brought to you by Stride Foundation. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please head over to www.stridefoundation.com, where you can find links to resources that may help. You can also make a donation. Please make a donation. It will help us bring to you more episodes. And if you enjoyed This Is Powerful, please rate, review, and follow the podcast to share it with your friends, your family, anyone you can, and head over to social media. I always love to see and hear how you react to the episodes, and it's so helpful for our content to be shared. Thank you also to my beautiful wife, Dr. Federica and Marty, the best producer, Shannon Delwich, to Henry, you know who you are, and to Emma Long, who does all the hard work in the background. And there's a whole catalogue of episodes wherever you get your podcasts.